the Islamic regime instead just killing people. They killed Mahsa Amini because of just wearing a loose hijab. And now that people protesting against it, they are killing all innocent people.
Now, protests against Iran's clerical establishment erupted 2 months ago after the death in custody of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old woman who was detained by the morality police for allegedly breaking the strict rules around head coverings. Now, in the past month, Iran's beach football, water polo, basketball teams, they have all refused to sing the national anthem, which has been seen as a sign of support for the protesters. Shohreh Bayat is an Iranian chess player and a referee who'd fled to the UK in 2020 after being accused of wearing her headscarf incorrectly at a tournament in Shanghai. And Shohreh joins me now. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Shohreh. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about what happened to you. You were in a tournament in Shanghai. What happened?
Yes, I was in a tournament. It was World Chess Championship final when Iranian regime actually condemned me for wearing a loose hijab and asked me to write public apology and post it in my Instagram. Instead, I decided to take a stand and I took out my headscarf. I decided not to wear it anymore. And then I asked Iran to guarantee my safety to come back to the country, but they refused it. So I had to apply asylum in UK.
And so you never went back to Iran?
No, I cannot come back there because they want to arrest me and, of course, making an example of me for others.
Sure, we've seen a lot of people across the globe take protest in solidarity with what's been happening in Iran for the past 2 months. There are protests even today in London. I know there's been a lot of protests in Berlin as well in support of what's happening in Iran. Can you tell us a little bit about what is the current state in Iran and how the protests have been progressing? I think a lot of people were under the impression that those protests were going to slowly peter out, but they're still going strong.
That's true. The motto of Iranian people is women, life, freedom. And this is about human rights, and we are asking and demanding our basic rights to be able to what we want to wear, how we want to live, and to decide about having a democracy in the country. But the Islamic regime instead just killing people. They killed Mahsa Amini because of just wearing a loose hijab. And now that people protesting against it, they are killing all innocent people just to save themselves in power. And because of that, there are loads of demonstration in Iran. And I would like to make it clear that the Iranian people don't want a reform; they want a full change. That's very important that people understand.
Now, we've been talking about the fact that a lot of Iranian teams that have been taking part in competitions around the world are refusing to sing the national anthem. They are being they're making a point of their support with the protesters. Let's look forward to tomorrow's match against England. This is what the Iranian football manager Carlos Queiroz had to say about his players being free to protest over women's rights.
In Iran, it is exactly like in your country, in England. You follow the spirit of the game and the laws of FIFA. As far as you express yourself in football according to those principles and values, everybody have the right to express themselves. You guys used to bend your knees in the games. Some people agree, some people don't agree with that. And in Iran, it is exactly the same.
Shohreh, how much pressure are the Iranian football players going to be under tomorrow? Will the government have had words with the team, warned them about any protests on the national stage like the World Cup?
Definitely, I think they must be under massive pressure. I don't believe that they have freedom of protest, even if Karish said it, but I cannot believe that's real. These people, these players have their family in Iran. And this is a regime that can attack to your family, to your loved ones, and threat, they are, our best football player, Ali Karimi, is receiving life threats every day.
Who is he
Another
receiving? Who is he receiving those threats from?
from the regime officials. From you can read it in social media in Iran, in public news agencies. So his life is in danger, but he said that still, although his life is in danger, but people have to should continue their protests because what we are fighting for is more important than his life. That's what he said. Because of these things, I cannot believe that tomorrow football players are free to protest, and people are saying that Ukraine should be played instead of Iran in the World Cup, because this team is not representing Iran, but currently is representing just the regime.
So you feel that the players there are under such immense pressure from the regime because they've all got families back home in Iran. You're saying that whether it's explicitly done to them or it's otherwise implied, that if they decide to do any sort of protest on a big scale, just like the World Cup tomorrow, that their families could be under threat by the regime.
Exactly, yes, that's what I'm saying, and we have seen such behaviors from Iranian regime a lot. We have, for example, Sardar Pashai, who is an activist, and her sister got arrested by the regime. We have Masih Alinejad, who is an activist, and her brother was arrested by regime. So these are typical behavior of the Iranian regime, and because of that, I think that tomorrow it's very difficult for Iranian players to show a gesture, but instead we hope to receive support from players from England.
What is the general attitude towards the team from the people of Iran? Never mind the regime. We know what the regime's thoughts are, but the people who are protesting, are they looking towards that team hoping that they will make a statement? Or do they also understand how risky that would be for each individual player and their families?
Basically, Iranian people announced and said that they are not supporting this football team at all because the Iranian regime is using football to show the world that the things are normal in Iran. Well, nothing is normal. And it's not just about politics, it's about human rights. It's about murdering innocent people who are just peacefully protesting. And then because the regime is trying to kill them, people just have to defend themselves. So people are not supporting the Iranian team tomorrow because this is not the team of Iran.
Shohreh,
This is the I just want to make it clear that this is the team of the Islamic regime right now and not representing Iranian people.
Shohreh, looking away from sport, it's been 2 months now that the protests are continuing. We've seen a lot of people lose their lives. As you said, people who've been protesting, their families are also being affected. Is this a protest that you think ultimately will be successful?
Sure. I don't think it is a protest. I think it is a revolution. But I don't know the change will happen tomorrow, next week, or in a year. But definitely this change is happening because people moved on from the regime, because we lost our trust, because they killed our brothers, our sisters, our own people. Which regime, which country kills its own people? So we cannot negotiate with murderers. And that's why we know that we cannot ever accept this regime. And that's why we say that we don't want reform, because they just killed our brothers and sisters.
Shohreh, thank you so much for giving me your time. I really appreciate it. It's been fascinating to get your thoughts about the team and, of course, how that has been perceived in Iran. Thank you for giving us all this time. I really appreciate it.